Hello everybody to another Kittens and Books, Callisto Reads. Today I'm going to talk about this book. It's called Ink, Blood, Sister, Scribe. This is the German version of the book. Now don't be fooled by the English title, this is actually the German version of the book. In German it's called Ink, Blood, Mirror, Magic. Welcome to Germany, where you can sell anything and everything if you give it a good English name. So this book is urban fantasy. It was written by Emma Terz, and as far as I know, this is her first novel. And I have to say, I'm impressed. If this is a first novel, she's already peaked. It's urban fantasy, it's adult, and it is about, and this will contain a review and spoilers, about a world where magic exists. It is real, and magic comes in the form of magical books. And we followed the story of Joanna and Esther and Nicholas. Joanna and Esther are half-sisters. They have the same father, Abe, who at the very beginning of the book is already dead. Joanna finds him in the garden of their house and he's dead, and he is lying on top of a magical book that seems to have absorbed all of his blood. And that's the beginning of the book. So essentially in this world, there are people, as we learn over the course of the book, who can write magical books. And they do this by using their own blood. And it can lead to a scribe's death. Sometimes more than one scribe is bled to death so that their blood can be used to write books. So it's a really terrible form of magic. And then there are those people who can read those magical books and again activate the magic using their own blood, but usually they don't have to die for this. And Joanna, or Jo, lives in Vermont in the family home, which in its basement contains a large number of magical books. She has the ability to hear magic. It's kind of like a humming of many, many bees when she's near such a book. And she lives there alone at this stage because her father has died. And her half-sister left when she was 18 years old and hasn't been home. And she basically writes to her sister every so often, but she hasn't come back. Even when Abe, their father, died, Esther has just said, yes, he's dead, I'm not coming home. So Joanna is basically confined to the family home. Her own mother separated from her father a long time ago in a real fight where she tried to burn the magical book that Abe and also Joanna have been using to hide the building from view. So the building, Joanna's family home, is hidden magically from the world so that no one can come near it, because Abe believes it is his job to contain the magic in the books and make sure that they don't end up in the wrong hands. However, things come to a head. Esther, who is at the moment living in Antarctica, she's an electrician or electrical engineer, and she's living there with a group of scientists in Antarctica, and her girlfriend is there as well, has decided to do something that she hasn't done in a very long time, not since she left home. She has decided not to move. On the 31st of October, her dad has told her she needs to be moving, and I really mean moving from place to place to place to place for 24 hours straight. So for the last years, since she was 18, on the 31st to the 1st of November, she would be booking flights and basically traversing the continents. She never was told why. And her father simply said, if you don't, and if you stay at home, you're going to endanger your sister. Because you, who he has established is immune to magic and cannot hear the magical books when they hum, deactivate the magic that hides the house from view and also hides your sister from view. And people might come and try and find your sister because your sister can find magical books, just like I can. I can take care of myself, but your sister can't. And being the dutiful older sister, she of course does anything and everything that her father tells her to do in order to keep her sister safe. But this time round, she is truly, madly, deeply in love for the first time. And she's decided to stay in Antarctica on that fateful day. And then things go awry because suddenly she realizes that there is someone in Antarctica with them who has activated a magical mirror connection. She knows that mirrors can be used on both sides and you can pass stuff through them. Not human beings or living things, but stuff. And someone is there, and it turns out that someone has come and tracked her down and is trying to kill her or abduct her. It's not clear. Switch to London, England, where we meet Nicholas, who lives with his uncle Richard in a huge mansion, which is a huge library full of magical books from all around the globe and all ages. And it turns out that Nicholas is a scribe. So Nicholas writes magical books at the behest of his uncle, using his own blood, and he's constantly anemic. And at the request of customers who pay for this kind of magic. So it can be anything, you know, like to befuddle the minds of people you do business with so that they buy your new and improved version of whatever, you know, to sell paintings that are fake, things like that. And over time, it becomes clear that there is a lot of stuff going on in the background that weaves these three protagonists, Esther and Joanna and Nicholas, together. And we later find out that Esther is actually a scribe. All scribes are immune to magic. They are the only living things that can pass through mirrors, which is also something that we learn. And we find out that Richard is actually trying, and Richard has been around for a very long time, and he is his own ancestor. He's trying to become immortal, strengthen his immortality. He's already sacrificed Nicholas's eye for this. Nicholas is one-eyed. And we learn all about the machinations of this guy who is running this library. And while this may sound like your run-of-the-mill fantasy magical story, it's not. Because one thing that got me from the very start is the personal side of the story. Joanna is confined to her house. She doesn't leave the house. She's estranged from her own mother, who basically tried to break the spell, say, let's get rid of this library that we have in our basement. It's destroying our family. It's destroying our lives. But her father says no. So basically her mother leaves him. She feels the sense of duty and is duty bound to the library. So she basically becomes this recluse. Her sister is estranged from everybody because she has to travel. She has to leave. She cannot just say, okay, I'm leaving for a day and then return. She always breaks up with everyone, all of her friends, all of her love interests after a year. She's this eternally wandering vagrant who is running from someone because she believes that if she doesn't, she's endangering her sister, while we find out she's only endangering herself because there is a spell that activates every year, because Richard doesn't only want Nicholas, he wants to find any other scribes, because there can only ever be one in his mind, because that's very important. He wants to keep the number of scribes to one. And all through that book, I felt so badly for the girls, but also for Nicholas, who are really suffering at the hands of these magic users, magic wielders, collectors, etc. And I just wanted to shake all of the grown-ups in this book. Abe, who's already dead. Richard, of course, because he's a monster. Maram as well, but also Celia, Joanna's mother, because they are putting those children through so much sacrifice. Not only physical sacrifice, where Nicholas loses an eye, but also mental and emotional sacrifice. That I really wanted to kind of like, shout at the book and say, you know what, Abe, go to hell. And if you're dead already, maybe you're already roasting in hell. That's where you belong. But as the story unfolds, and the author does it masterfully, you suddenly see behind the layers and layers and layers of the story, and you get to the true reasons as to why the grown-ups, the adults in the story, have behaved and have set up and set everything in motion the way they have. And while I don't condone Richard's bid for immortality, and, like trying to kill other people for it, I also understand why he does it. Doesn't make it any better. And it doesn't make Abe's behavior towards his daughters any better. But it kind of explains why. And I think this is the true mastery of a good or excellent author, that although you may not go along with a person's motivation and condone the motivation, you understand the motivation. That doesn't mean that you subscribe to it or that you would do the same thing, but it means that you can understand the characters and how they have developed over time to get to where they took the decision that is now basically destroying the lives of the next generation. This is an Insta buy. If any of this sounds interesting to you, you should totally buy this book. I would say it's really not for children, young adults maybe, but it's definitely urban fantasy for adults. It reads really well. The German translation is also quite good. I only found a couple of spelling errors and some very annoying grammatical errors, but again, editing seems to have gone out of fashion. The version that I have here is really beautifully done. I really love it. And it retails at 25 euros, so that's around about $30 in Germany. I don't know if there's also a pocket version of this. This is the hardcover. I don't know if this was ever published in paperback, but it's readily available at all bookshops in Germany, and I can only recommend it. I hope that Emma will continue to write books. I will also tell you that this doesn't call for a second or third installment. It's not the beginning of a series. It is a self-contained novel, and it ends well. There are some happy endings for some of our protagonists, and justice is done. But also there is a way forward for everybody, and the villain does die. So this is a total recommendation from my end. I really enjoyed it, and it's called Ink, Blood, Sister, Scribe in English, and in German it's called Ink, Blood, Mirror, Magic. Talk to you soon. Thank you. Bye.